Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing yet another movie review for you all, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This movie is a drama from Russia, Russian language English subs, released in the year 2013, directed by Yuri Bykov, and this film is called The Major. So The Major is about Sergei. He is a major in the Russian police department. He is zigzagging through very icy roads because he needs to get to the hospital before his wife gives birth to their first child. So he's very excited about this, but he's driving very dangerously. So he's zigzagging through the cars on very dangerous conditions, and he ends up running over a young boy, killing him instantly. So the young boy was with his mother. The mother is now a witness, and Sergei realizes that if the truth gets out, he won't be there for his young child because he'll be in jail. So he rings the department, and this is where we realize that not only are the department like family, they're also very corrupt. And they say to Sergei that they can spin the evidence to suggest that it was the mother's fault because she made the son walk across the road just as Sergei was going by. But this couldn't be further from the truth. So this in turn produces a lot of guilt for Sergei. He wants to be there for his new family, but he also realizes that he's destroyed another family, and so he can't really live with this, and this is where he starts to second guess what he's doing and whether or not it's the right thing to do. But unfortunately, he's past a point of no return, and things are going to get very dangerous if he backs out now. So whether or not he does is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on The Major. What a devastating experience this was. Now, Yuri Bykov is a relatively new director for me. I didn't really know anything about him before I watched a movie called To Live, which is a movie I reviewed many months ago. If you want to know more details about that, please go and see the review. That was a movie that really hit me over the head with a sledgehammer. That was an incredibly powerful emotional experience about what you were willing to do in order to preserve life. In that, are you willing to do things that you would never think you could do when you're put under very extreme pressurizing situations? And so that was a movie that made me think as a person, and so that's something I wasn't expecting coming from a no-name director. But since that movie, I've really kept him on my radar, and so when I knew that The Major was directed by him, I thought this is definitely a movie I need to check out. Now, in the movie To Live, one of those characters, main characters, was played by Denis Shedov, who was also the main character as Sergei in this film. And so I thought, okay, well, that was another enticing element that the movie had. And not only is Yuri Bykov the director, he's also one of the main characters in this movie. So I thought that was another reason to go and check this film out. But I wasn't prepared for how soul-searching this movie would be. Once again, this is a movie that makes you think. This is a movie that has many layers, and it just hits you over the head with a sledgehammer, the powerful sledgehammer of emotion that makes you feel really down and out by the end of it. This is a film made by a filmmaker who is not afraid to show you that life doesn't always go happily ever after. Life is not sugar-coated. Life is very cold. Life is very harsh. And not only does the cinematography amplify that harsh, cruel quality, but it's also the psychological torment that Yuri Bykov takes the viewer through. So it's a very, very challenging film, and it's a movie that once again makes you think, is that if something horrible's happened, are you willing to destroy a family in order to preserve your own family? And so it's a very, very challenging sort of aspect that really creates a riveting experience. This is a movie that does have that really cruel heart, but it also has that sustained level of interest that Yuri Bykov has as a puppeteer. You're the puppet, and he's controlling your emotions in a very deliberate way that just makes it absolutely riveting from start to finish. The continuity of this movie was absolutely fantastic. It sustained my interest. It was very fluent. I thought the acting from Denis Shedov, who plays Sergei, was fantastic. This is a guy who was trying to do the right thing, but a horrible thing has happened, and every decision he makes after this horrible event has catastrophic consequences. It's a domino effect of absolute negativity. And then you've got Yuri Bykov's performance as his close friend, and I thought he was doing things as a result of the circumstances. And so it's the circumstances that are dictating what these people are doing. They're not necessarily bad people, but they're being forced to make bad decisions in order to preserve their life. And so I always thought to myself, all right, well, you can judge these people as very bad, as absolutely soulless and cruel, but what would you do in a similar circumstance? And there are aspects that might suggest that you might do what these guys have done. In that, are you going to take responsibility? You know, it's easy to say man up when you're not going through it, but when you're put under a very extreme situation, are you going to take that responsibility, or are you going to try and get away with it, no matter how much it might devastate other people? And so it's a movie that really puts you into the driver's seat as far as emotions are concerned, and it's another knockout performance from Yuri Bykov as a director. I just just thought he captured a movie that Hollywood would not make. This is a film, at the end of it, I could see a lot of people booing because it's just a really cruel and dark-hearted film, but it's a dark-hearted film that makes you think as a viewer, and it produces a lot of guilt, and it's something that I wasn't expecting from not only To Live, but also The Major. Yuri Bykov has made another movie that has made you think about life, but in a very different way. So it's not a one-trick pony. He's not copying what To Live did and made me think, but this is a movie that once again is making you think as though you are, what would you do in a similar circumstance? And so I thought that was fantastic. The acting from the supporting cast was fantastic. The cinematography, very cold and bleak, which matched the psychology. There was no violence in the movie. It doesn't actually show you any violence, so it's not really relying on shocking you. It just has that psychologically damaging effect that just makes you feel down and out. It's a devastating film, and it's another movie that I believe is extremely underrated from an extremely underrated director. Yuri Bykov is going to go down as one of my favourites for this year because of the fact I hadn't heard anything about him, but The Major is another absolutely outstanding film. The continuity is fantastic, the acting is great, the script is fantastic, and it just has that real dilemma that keeps you on the edge of your seat, and it's just that feeling that, okay, things are going to get worse, and ultimately that's life, and that's an aspect of life that we don't want to acknowledge, but Yuri Bykov forces the viewer to really go through it. It's a train wreck of emotions, and I just felt really down and out by the end of it, but I'm so glad that I tracked it down because it's definitely worth the view. So overall, for The Major, it's just as good as To Live. I'm going to give this film 4.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.